This video contains subject matter that may be offensive and disturbing to some people. If you are the type to require a warning throughout a video or show, let this message serve as your warning. This channel discusses the harsh reality of true crime. If this warning is not sufficient for you, consider a different genre and unsubscribe from my channel immediately. Yes, let the trolls begin. Please hit the dislike button. As a matter of fact, if you can get it around 50-50, YouTube loves it. So, for those of you out there who think that hitting the dislike button is hurting me, it's not. Okay? It's just called an engagement. That means somebody felt strong enough to actually click something. So keep doing it. Please. See if we can get that up to like 50 or so. And so what we got today is a bunch of trolls who are freaking out because I dared to go over to another channel who was covering the Chris Watts case for the 10,000th time, talking about EVP readings that they're getting from that case and ghosts seen in the walkthrough videos, okay? Well, I'm sorry for criticizing that. Well, not really. I think it's ridiculous that people actually are so into that stuff. It's embarrassing. It just shows you how stupid our society is in general. That there's that many people who get off on that shit. Okay? So, yeah, hit the dislike all you want. It just helps out. All right. I was just, right before the show, I was listening to me and Susanne's conversation. I was laughing the whole time. It's hilarious. From the other night when we were talking. I thought that was pretty funny. Hilarious. Susanne's laugh makes me laugh. Makes me smile. Yeah, it's good stuff. Oh yeah, there's one thing I was going to show you guys. If you look in the description over here, look at this. I took somebody, I can't remember who said it, but their advice. I made the freak face masks and the nefarious one. Alright, and the links are in the description of the video. But there you go. Wouldn't that one look kind of cool right there? I do have Gray Hughes Investigates on there. I could do one without that too. You can pick either one. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's so small, but at least it's some kind of advertising or whatever. And then the nefarious one's pretty cool. Let me see. Yeah, let me find the... where the hell is it? Stores. No, it's not showing. It's not working correctly. Anyways, if you look in the description, it's in there. I think I have. I can go find it really fast. Yeah, there you go. It's under face masks. And here's the nefarious one. Just a second. This is the nefarious one. If you guys want to check that out. I think that one looks kind of cool too. Yeah. I don't think anybody wants a white mask, or I don't know, maybe they would, but I just have these darker colors like that. But black is the one I would be getting. I guess that's what it looks like without being around your ears. So you got nefarious and freak. All right. Richard Watts. Okay, so today I'm just going to be doing this show now. I might come back on later, not really sure, but hopefully. It's the case of Mary and Susan Raker. From 1975. It's kind of amazing because it's not really covered that much at all out there. There's some YouTube news stories on it, but that's it. All right, so let me know when you guys are ready to go. Yeah, and keep those dislikes coming, please. Thank you. Just try to get a steady balance of them. I came across it while looking up. I was just trying to find a connection to another case, and I stumbled upon this one. It's nuts. All right, so here we go. This is the missing girls poster from a long time ago. 5'3", 116 pounds for Mary Raker. Brown hair. I mean, you can just see what she looks like. Susan Raker, 4'11", and looks like 100 pounds. Long, dark brown hair. That's when they were missing. This is back in 1974. I think Labor Day, maybe? Can't remember exactly, but so here is one of the original articles in the paper. And in that picture, she doesn't look like let's see, so that would obviously be this girl here. She doesn't have the glasses, and her hair looks more wavy. But obviously, it's the same person. All right, Fred Reker, St. Cloud, a 1952 graduate of St. Mary's College, Winona, has asked for assistance in locating his 2 teenage daughters who have been missing since September 2nd. Mary Raker, 15, and Susan Raker, 12, daughters of Mr. and Mrs. Fred Raker of 224 18th Avenue North, left their home on Labor Day to go shopping at a center about a mile from their home. Since that time, they have been the object of an intensive area-wide search by police, FBI, family, and friends. Mary is 5'3", weighs about 115 pounds. Has brown hair, greenish eyes, and wears gray wire-rimmed glasses. She was last seen wearing blue jeans and an army shirt with the name Reker on the front. Susan is 4'11", weighs about 100 pounds, has waist-length dark brown hair, brown eyes, and wears gold wire-rimmed glasses. She was last seen wearing a white cotton short jacket and blue corduroy jeans. Oh no. Oh no, man. I just got debunked. There's blue corduroy jeans. They do exist. I didn't even realize that till I just read that. Oh, God. Man. Who would have known? Who would have known? All right, missing girl parents tape. They record an appeal, and they tape record it. The parents of 2 St. Cloud sisters who have been missing from their home since Labor Day have tape recorded, and this is on the 18th. That last article was the 15th of September. Have tape recorded an appeal to the girls to be broadcast throughout the state. And by the way, Fred Raker of 224 18th Avenue, that is right here. This is their home at the time. Probably the same one, just given the way that looks. Hey, JK! I might come on later, too. How many dislikes are we up to? How many do we got, Jay?
Huzzy, you are not coming on later, bro. Damn. I'm in the break room. Why so many dislikes?
Because I went onto a channel yesterday and I said that it was ridiculous that they were still covering the Watts case, but this time talking about ghosts seen on the walkthrough videos and EVP reading. Only 17. Keep going, you guys. Come on. Trolls, help me out a little bit. Just keep hitting it. God. Hit the damn dislike button, trolls. All right. Fred Reker of 224 18th Avenue North, the girl's father, said today he and his wife taped a message for distribution through the St. Cloud, let's see, Diocese Bureau of Investigation. I'm not sure what diocese. I don't even. I've never seen that word before. Diocesan, diocesan, or anybody know what that word is? Now, Reker said he and his wife have heard from several friends rumors that the girls, Mary, 15, and Susan, 12, have been found. This is not true, Reker said today. Nothing has been heard about them. No one has reported seeing them since the day they disappeared, and no one has heard from them. Reker said he and his wife tape recorded the message to the girls on the outside chance they may have run away from home. We do not believe they have run away, but we did appeal to them that if they hear the message from us, to let us know where they are. Posters with pictures and descriptions of the girls are being distributed to police. So this is back on September 18th, 1974. Yeah, I mean, we sometimes cover cases that are just now being solved, with DNA and stuff like that. But yeah, most of the time it's... Now, I don't even see that person that you were talking to. Who's BRI? Or I don't see that person in there. Probably already had him blocked from another time. Okay. But let's just forget about the trolls, all right? Oh, okay. All right, let's just do I want to cover this case. It deserves the same amount of respect as all the other ones, right? All right, so that was on the 18th, and then we're 6 days later. A helicopter search is to be conducted today for two St. Cloud girls who have been missing since Labor Day. A reward will also be offered by a group of St. Cloud area citizens for information leading to the location of the two sisters. Mary Raker, 16, and her 12-year-old sister, Susanne, the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Fred Reker of 224 18th Avenue North, disappeared while on what was to have been a short shopping trip to a shopping center near their home. State Senator Jack Clinbon said today $500 has already been donated for the reward. So anyways, that they were out doing some really massive searching. This was a huge story in the paper. What's strange about it, though, is it's not a big story on social media or anything like that. All right. Okay, hold on one second. So this is 6 days after that. Reker girls found dead near a quarry. Okay, so this is on the 30th. So they were probably found on the 29th, I would imagine. An intense investigation is being launched into the stabbing deaths of two St. Cloud sisters whose badly decomposed bodies were found at the abandoned quarry site west of Waite Park Saturday. The girls, Mary Reker, 16, and her sister Susan, 12, disappeared while on a short shopping trip Labor Day afternoon. The investigation, which has been in the hands of the St. Cloud Police Department, has shifted to the Stearns County Sheriff's Department because it appears the deaths occurred in Stearns County. Lawrence Brownie Kritzek, who has taken over the chief investigator in the case, said a special telephone number will be established. Both girls have been stabbed several times, but authorities are waiting for a complete report from the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office, where the bodies were taken for a complete investigation. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office was completing the investigative autopsies on the bodies of the two girls today. Let's see. We're going to give it everything we've got, he said. All right, so here we go. This is the quarry right here. That's what it looked like way down in here, and I was able to find it by using the directions that they mentioned. Waite Park, which is right here, and then I just kind of looked around and I saw a quarry, and believe it or not, it kind of seems like it still looks pretty similar, to be honest with you. It's got those the high cliffs there. And here's a more recent picture of the area. Yeah, just a second. This is one from that time, 1974. That's a picture of it. So I'm wondering if we could take a look at that and maybe determine using Google Earth, unless it's been, more rocks have been sheared off since then. It's hard to know 100% though, because this is a 3D model of that quarry, and a lot of times they really dial this stuff in where it's really clear. I mean, it could even be on that lower level down there, I guess. But, you would think since 1974, they've done a lot of excavating out of there. So, all we got to know is it was just in here, in this area. Let me just look over here really quick. I'm just trying to, match it up to that look, but it could easily have just been destroyed over the years. But maybe I'll do that on another time. So it's in this quarry. That's where they were found. There has been no murder such as this in St. Cloud area in recent history. Both Mary and Susan were attending private schools. Mary was a sophomore at St. Francis High School in Little Falls, where she was active in the school band and chorus. The St. Francis choir is expected to sing for the celebrated Mass of the Resurrection. Let's see. Yeah. So basically that's it. The rest of it's just talking about what's going to be going on. Let me go to the next one. So the next one is 1974, December 31st. There was a whole bunch of articles in between. Well, thanks, Jay. I appreciate it. Apparently I need to do a little bit more of the EVP type shows, though.
Maybe catch you later. Don't forget you are True Crime on YouTube. Highly respected. You work your tirelessly. Fist bump dude. Stay happy my friend. Imaldi. AKA out to here. For now.
Okay, we'll see you later. Awesome. Oh, I turned it on, the bot. I don't know if it's not working or not. Oh, I guess it needed to be done again. Alright, there we go. Doesn't seem to really work anyways. So now we're on, this is one in December, so about 3 months later. The stabbing deaths of two St. Cloud girls, the entire community in the fall of 1974. The area has had numerous homicides over the years, but they have all been solved. Most of them have been the result of domestic problems. The deaths of Mary and Susan Raker, whose bodies were found at the abandoned quarry west of City 27, west of the city, 27 days after they disappeared, left many people angered and frightened. The double murder, coupled with a marked increase in the number of armed robberies in the area this year, have given some people the feeling that big city crime has come to St. Cloud. From the time the two girls disappeared while on a brief shopping trip, their parents had known they had met trouble. Their father, Fred Reker, has waved goodbye to the girls when they started to walk the 4 blocks from their home to, I guess it's called Shopko. Let's see. I don't know. I doubt it's still there, but look at that. One, two. Oh, there is a Shopko right there. So now it looks kind of reasonable. Does that look like 4 blocks? No, those are blocks right there. Let's see. Well, I'll just mark it there since it's called Shopko. When the girls didn't return home that afternoon, their parents began a frantic search for them. They said they knew the girls would not have run away. About a week before their bodies were found, an air search using National Guard and State Patrol helicopters was conducted. On that afternoon of September 28th, the badly decomposed body of the girls were found. Both had been stabbed repeatedly. That set off an intensive investigation, which so far has proved nothing. L.V. Brownie, Kritzek, special investigator with the Stearns County Sheriff's Office, was in charge of the case, has conducted more than 500 interviews with relatives. Oh, man. Everything, when I turn on my air conditioner, it seems to set off like pollen and crap in here, even though I have filters all over the place. A special telephone number was established. All right. Now we're moving. Now this is pretty. Now the dad, about 3 months after that, it's just kind of interesting that he wrote a letter to the editor saying, "As a believing Christian and the father of Mary and Susan Raker, I was greatly disturbed and deeply hurt by the remarks made by M.G. Anderson in his letter of last week concerning Kerrigan, a confessed murderer. How anyone can make light of someone who made such brutal attacks on young girls is beyond me. If Anderson does not believe in God, that is his option, but he should not be ridiculing the faith of those who do believe. Neither should he be writing so lightly about someone like Kerrigan, or Kerrigan. Or what do you think that is? Kerrigan? Maybe that's a silent G there. If Anderson would, again, read the Old Testament, so the father is, frustrated, looking for, some positive comments out there, and you get these jokers, like a lot of the people on social media today who make stupid-ass comments, oh, hey, like this morning I had some idiot on my Delphi videos, again, saying, I heard one of the girls was pregnant. Hey, I heard one of the, looks a lot like the grandfather. It's like, shut the hell up, you moron. Okay, go back 8 months ago, or 3 years ago, and do that shit. That's all been debunked. We've moved on since then, all right? Let's see. So now we're about 6 months after that letter to the editor. Year sheds little light on murders. Their pictures still hang on the living room wall next to other children, and they're mentioned nightly in the family prayers. The memory is strong for the Fred Reker family. A year to this day, Sunday, after the bodies of Mary and Susanne 1512 were found in an abandoned quarry west of Waite Park. 26 days after the girls disappeared from a St. Cloud shopping center, two teenage boys stumbled across Suzanne's badly decomposed body. Divers soon recovered Mary's body in 40 feet of water in the quarry. So now we get a little bit more detail. So one of the girls was found, Mary was found in the water, and Suzanne's body was found like above in the grass. Both had suffered multiple stab wounds, both apparently murdered the day they disappeared. For the family, the initial shock is over. Emotions have run the gamut in the past year, and Fred and Rita Reker and their 4 living children have settled back into their required routine. So they had 6 kids. Yeah. Yeah, so it doesn't sound like they had any good leads or anything at the time. There's that same picture. See, it sounds kind of weird, but see this picture right here? That would make it would be an interesting piece of art to have on your wall if it was the black and white photo on the wall as a sort of a reminder of crime. I always think some of these pictures that were taken, they have so much better composition. The photographers back in the day. Now people just go, you take 16,000 photos and you just kind of throw one out. All right, now let me move. Now we're moving to the next year, June 1976. And now they're doing an update, so now we're about a year and a half into this. The parents of 2 slain St. Cloud girls met with local law enforcement officials Wednesday for an update. The bodies of Mary, 15, and Susanne, 12, were found September 28, 1974 in a quarry. And they went missing while they were heading to go shopping. They said that they sat down and went over the names of some of the possible suspects. The Rakers couldn't be reached for comment. So the family did get updated. Now, this is interesting right here. Now, this is a story, let's see, St. Cloud, Minnesota. Charges were still pending this morning against 2 17-year-old youths in connection with the alleged abduction, rape, and stabbing of a 14-year-old St. Cloud girl in an alleged armed robbery of a store Saturday night. Stearns County Attorney Roger Van Heel said today he was unsure of the exact charges to be filed against the youths. He said his office was considering whether it should petition the court to have them stand trial as adults. So this is in the same town, St. Cloud, Minnesota. And there's these 2 kids that were together and they stabbed a 14-year-old. The girl lived, though. A spokesman for the St. Cloud Police Department said the city probably will handle the robbery charges. The girl is hospitalized in the St. Cloud Hospital today with 3 stab wounds to the back. Her parents said she was taken out of intensive care unit at 1 p.m. Sunday. The incident began about 9:15 p.m. Saturday when 2 youths, armed with a gun, entered the 25th Avenue Dairy Bar, Northgate Shopping Center, a spokesman for the St. Cloud Police Department said Sunday. They allegedly stole about $50 and ordered the girl, who worked as a clerk, to go with them. They allegedly took the girl to a gravel pit. I mean, doesn't that sound familiar? About 1 mile east of Luxembourg. There, they allegedly bound her with tape, stripped her, and raped her, the girl's father said. The girl was then cut loose, and her clothes were put back on. Her father said she was then stabbed in the back and thrown from the car. When the youth saw she was still struggling, he said that she was stabbed again. The girl then tried to escape, and she was stabbed a 3rd time, her father said. She then played dead, she said, and the youth threw a branch over her and left. The girl then made her way through a creek and across a swamp to the residence of Mr. and Mrs. Clarence Thole Luxembourg. According to Mrs. Thole, the girl knocked on the back door, and when they opened the door, they found a girl muddy and soaking wet who obviously needed help. Mrs. Thole said they asked if she was alone, and she said she was. They let her in the house and tried to comfort her while they notified the Stearns County Sheriff's Department. Mrs. Thole said the Stearns deputies were on the scene in a matter of minutes. Mrs. Thole said the girl was obviously in much pain and spoke very little. She was bleeding very little on the outside, and they could see she had been stabbed. We were shocked at first, Miss Thole said, but we saw how hurt she was. We just tried to comfort her. She said they gave authorities a description of a station wagon that had been seen leaving and entering the road to the gravel pit next to their house. A description of the vehicle was also given to police by a customer who was entering the store as the three were leaving. A spokesman said the vehicle was stopped in the downtown area of St. Cloud shortly after midnight. Yeah. And so later on, those people are mentioned. So they made an arrest. There's a guy named Herb Notch is who that ends up being. His name will come up in a little bit later. So then about a year after this, Slain Girl's final hours retraced. So this will be interesting. So this will actually show us exactly, we can put it on the map here. Slain Girl's final hours retraced. Fred Reker's remembrance of the morning of September 2nd, 1974 is that he was painting the north side of his modest home in St. Cloud, and that his wife Rita was hanging out the wash. Reker also remembers that once his young daughters Mary and Susanne left home that morning, he never saw them again. The girls' bodies were discovered 26 days later at an abandoned granite quarry just west of the city. The killer or killers have not been found. This article is from 1977 now. Susanne 12 had been stabbed 13 times. Her body was found lying face up under a bush about 40 feet back from the quarry rim, except for her white cotton drill jacket and her eyeglasses, both found nearby. She was fully clothed. So it seems like the let's see, Susanne 13 times. So Susanne was probably not the intended target. It was probably Mary here. Drill jacket and her eyeglasses, both found nearby. Okay, so Mary 15 had been stabbed 6 times. Her body was found on a ledge under 40 feet of water. That's crazy. Was almost perfectly preserved by the near freezing water. Mary was wearing a sweater. Well, that's interesting because if there's DNA inside of her, it might have been preserved. Mary was wearing a sweater, a watch, and 1 shoe. Her pants and underclothes were thrown on the cliff as if someone had attempted to throw them into the water after her. Oh, wow. Yeah, so that's crazy. So Susanne was killed and just sort of placed at the top. And then after, let's see, after Mary was raped, it sounds like she was just thrown off the edge of the cliff and then her clothes after her. Neither body bore defensive wounds, no cuts on the hands or forearms, no bruised knuckles, no broken toes. There were no indication that either girl attempted to ward off the repeated knife blows, nor was there any sign that either girl had been tied up. Heavy rains during the intervening months had washed the scene of evidence. Time has all but washed the memories of friends and others who say they saw the girls that afternoon 3 years ago. It is still possible to piece together, together or somewhat coherent picture of the girls' last few hours in the days and weeks after the disappearance. Fred and Rita Reker and the girl's sister Betsy, now 16, made notes of everything they thought relevant. Others who say they saw the girls that last afternoon either kept notes themselves and told others who kept notes and still have them. Members of the St. Cloud Police Department, the Stearns County Attorney's Office, the Sheriff's Department, and Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, who collectively compiled files said to be over a foot thick, were not the only people trying to find the girls and later to catch the killer. So let's see if we've got the mall. Okay, so it looks like the mall's in a totally different spot. Okay, so we definitely have the quarry correct. This is their home. And looks like the mall is, hold on, there's a curving, they have it going like this, right? And then they have it, let's see. Looks like they have it right in between, like right in here, actually. Yeah, so I think that's it. Let me move this. Hey, thanks, Holly Evans. Let's look at that one more time. So it's curving around and it's right up and it's right there. Based on their map. Yeah, right there. Okay, so that's a lot closer, and that does match the 4 blocks that they were talking about. See this the curving road right there, and then they have this inside of that, and right there's the mall, I guess. No, actually the mall is in a different spot. That's the Shopko department store. That's where they were going. So where's that mall then? Hold on, let's get that one marked in there. That's the Shopko. And so this is the loop like that, and then right there I think is the other shape that they had going. And then right here, and then the mall is near the river over here. And I had it on the other side of the river, but they have it kind of right in here somewhere. And there's the home, and then the bodies are found right over here in this quarry. Okay, here we go. So we just ended here. It says one man who lived near the quarry, for example, spent days probing every dynamite hole, and look how big this is. But since this is the actual timeline thing, I'm going to do it. It's an entire, it's just massive. And every crack in the giant granite slabs with a magnet hoping to find the murder weapon. So much information has been preserved that Stearns County Sheriff James Ellering, who took over the investigation himself 2 weeks ago, says he is optimistic the case can be concluded. With just a few more breaks, much of the information the Star gathered during a 5-week investigation of the homicide has been shared with Ellering. This much is known of the Mary and Susan Raker's last day. So here we go. They were up at 10 a.m. They dressed and went downstairs for breakfast, talking about a shopping trip to the nearby Zayre's Shopper City Discount Store. Mary, a sophomore at St. Francis High School in Little Falls, needed to buy something for a geometry class. Mary told her mother she was also going to look at winter coats. Susanne, described by everyone who knew her as very shy, quiet, introverted girl, intensely close and loyal to her oldest sister, and was going to tag along. About 10:30 a.m., Mary fixed an egg, and Susan had what's weird is it sort of has a similarity to the Delphi case. A lot of the stuff that, obviously it's not the same person, because that was 1975. You know, the person would be like 80 walking around, but, you know, just sort of the whole thing, even at the end, where the girls were found, has a similar ring to some of the anecdotal information. Mary's suitcase and a science project were already packed for the trip back to school. Let me get to this part. About 10:30 a.m., Mary fixed an egg, and Susan had toast. Mrs. Raker remembers telling Mary that her ride in a carpool was leaving for Little Falls at 4 p.m., and that she didn't want the sisters to dawdle all day because they had yard work to do. Mary's suitcase and a science project were already packed for the trip back to school. The day before, at a family reunion in St. Michael, Mary told two of her uncles that she was looking forward to the new school year. School, according to her parents, was the biggest thing in her life. And that's in Mary, the 15-year-old. Among her other interests, according to her parents, were playing the guitar and foosball. That was a pretty big game back then, a game she played at almost every opportunity. Mary also said never kept her carpool waiting. And now we're at 11:10. The girls set off down 18th Street. So let's try to, I'm going to read this off to the side. So this is their home right here. And let me turn on, let me get rid of this over here. Turn on roads. Okay. So apparently, let me make sure I can find 18th Street though. Second, well, let me start over here. Set off down 18th Street, and they lived at, no, they live on 18th Street. Yeah, it's right there, 18th Street. Okay. Thanks, Zozo. 18th Street for the mile-long walk to Zayre's. Mary was wearing pewter wire-rimmed glasses, blue jeans, brown lace Oxford, and a white short-sleeved sweatshirt, and an army fatigue shirt given to her by a cousin. Above the left pocket, sewn on the white lettering, was the name Reker, R-E-K-E-R. Susanne was wearing navy blue corduroys, but now they didn't say jeans that time. Gold-colored wire-rimmed glasses, white cotton jacket, and low-cut boots. So I guess they walked down this way, and then they were going to head to this Shopco over here. Let me see if that makes sense, if that's about a mile. Yeah, see, that's 0.77, but walking is about a mile, because you go this way and then that way. Okay. Fred Reker says he doesn't know how much money his daughter had with him when they left home. From an examination of Mary's bank book and knowing how much she earned during the summer, babysitting and stuffing envelopes, I used to do all those same things, for a local book publisher, he thinks it was between $3 and $35.
Thanks to Gray.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit, but a big thanks to Gray. Oh, well, no, thanks, Linda. Jeez. Thank you. Both parents said the girls told them they never hitchhiked, but both say they are well aware that many youngsters hitchhike, and their daughters may have on occasion. But it is doubtful that the girls hitchhiked that day. For one thing, much of the trip was down the residential street on which they lived through a parking lot at Zayre's. The short distance along Division Street, so let's make sure that that's what, yep, that's Division Street right there. So they would walk like this, then that way. Along Division Street, the main highway does not appear to be worth the wait for a ride. For another thing, the girls arrived at their first destination safely. The manager of the Shopko department store, which lies along the route to Zayre's. So let me go back to that one before and then see where... Okay, there's Zayre's right there. So Zayre's is in... If that is the... kind of like that, this... I think this might be it right in here. This is where Zayre's would be. So probably this building. Okay, so I'm looking at the map that they gave. That's where Shopko was, and then a little over here was where Zayre's was. And that it made sense. Could just be right around here, but either way, it's in that area. Thanks, Tracy. I mean, even though
Thanks for all you do, Hughes. Heart, smiley face.
Even though some of these are really long articles, usually these long ones are the ones that have everything pieced together, and then you can really kind of picture what in the hell was going on. For another thing, the girls arrived at their first destination safely. Managers of the Shopko department store, which lies along the route to Zayre's, told the parents he saw the girls in the store shortly before noon. They were frequent shoppers there, and he said he knew them on sight. And it says, about the same time the girls were seen at Shopko, the carpool driver called the parents to say he would not be at the Raker home until 7 p.m. The time of his phone call is crucial in determining the probable time of the girl's death. If the driver called after the girls left, as the parents remember it, then Mary and Susanne still thought they were expected home by 3 or 3:30 p.m. All right. Had the driver called earlier, then they would have stayed out later. While the girls were still home, then they would have known that they had lots of time and perhaps would have, dallied unnecessarily, lollygagged, as my mom would say, to get out of the yard work. About 1 p.m., Jacob Younger, a neighbor of Reker, said he was standing at the food counter at Zayre's eating a hot dog and sipping root beer. He saw the girls coming towards him, he said, from the direction of the main door. They spoke briefly to him, then set off towards the grocery section, and as they left him, Younger told the Star he heard Susanne tell Mary, "I don't want to go with that man. I don't like him." Or, "Let's not. I don't like that man." Younger says he is not sure of the exact wording, but says he is sure Susanne used the word man. Betsy, the girl's sister, says she thinks Susanne would not have used the word man for any male under 21. The direction the girls walked after leaving Younger also is important. At that time, the women's coat section at Zayre's was in the same direction as the grocery department. Because the grocery section was closed for Labor Day, the girls may have been going to look at winter coats. Man, this has got so much information in it. But the girls may not have known then that the grocery section was closed, and there were two young men who worked in the grocery section that are of interest. One was later convicted of stabbing a young St. Cloud girl in a manner similar to the way Mary and Susanne were stabbed. The other was a friend of a boy Mary had dated once. Younger is unclear about some other details. He told the police that he saw a large man in a blue Chevrolet either following the girls or waiting for them. How did he see all this stuff? Younger told the Star that he finished his root beer and left the store shortly after the girls departed, and then saw a large, nervous-acting man waiting outside in a blue Chevrolet Impala with squarish taillights. Younger told the Star that he immediately connected the man with what Susanne had said earlier and sat for some time in his car watching the man. After the girls were reported missing, Younger said he burned a tankful after tankful of gasoline driving the grid of St. Cloud streets looking for that blue Chevrolet. He never found it. Well, that's pretty cool that he tried so hard. He was sleuthing before sleuthing. A little after 2 that afternoon, a man sitting in the Briggs Lake Tavern located on the other side of St. Cloud from the quarry about 10 miles out of town said he saw the Raker girls accompanied by 2 men, one large and one somewhat smaller. He says he has no doubt that it was the Raker girls that he saw because one of them was wearing an army jacket and had the name Reker sewn on it. So let's see. A man sitting in Briggs Lake Tavern. I wonder if that's still there. Probably not. No. Let's see. Located on the other side of St. Cloud from the quarry. Oh, okay, there you go. From the quarry and 10 miles out of town. Said he saw the Raker girls accompanied by 2 men. From the quarry, 10 miles. So somewhere out in this area, I guess. He said the 4 were followed into the bar by 10 to 12 other youths, all about 16, who stood slightly behind them while the large men, who he estimated was 28 years old, and the shorter one, who he estimated to be 16, stood at the bar and each ordered a glass of beer. He said the girl with the army jacket stood near the large man and engaged in an animated conversation with him, and the shorter man laughing frequently. He also said he couldn't help but notice that the younger girl stood off some distance, said nothing, and never laughed or smiled. He said she appeared to be ill at ease, and very unhappy. After buying their beers and talking briefly at the bar, the man, the Raker girls, and the youths went into an adjacent room and played foosball. About a half hour later, when the man looked around, all of them were gone. He said he did not see them go. He says that in addition to the youths, there were at least 24 other people in the tavern at the time, but police say none of the other patrons or youths has ever come forward as witnesses. Perhaps the other adults hadn't noticed the Reker girls, and perhaps the other youths were too unwilling to admit being in a bar or being with the girls the day they died. After the incident in the bar, things get fuzzier. One man says he saw 2 girls who fit Mary and Susanne Raker's description walking into the stone quarry from the north later that afternoon, perhaps about 3 p.m. He said he watched them carefully because they walked close to his tool shed. It was not securely locked. One of the girls was wearing one of those army jackets, so I figured they were hippie types, and I watched them until they went out of sight into the quarry, he said. But he didn't think anything of what he had seen until a month later when the bodies were carried from the quarry. By the time he told police, he said he couldn't be absolutely sure. I wonder, must have missed the articles of them being missing, though. It was a holiday. I know that. Let's see. By the time he told police, he said he couldn't be absolutely sure what day it was that he saw the youths. It was a holiday, I know that, but it could have been the week before or the week after. I think it was Labor Day, but I can't say for sure. A woman who lives on the other side of the quarry said she saw two girls fitting the description of the Rakers and a tall man cross her side yard and enter the quarry from the south side at about the same time. Like most large water-filled stone quarries, the one outside Waite Park is a popular swimming hole. Neighbors say that on some summer days, there are dozens of cars parked along the road near the quarry. The quarry itself is marked by numerous footpaths and motorcycle trails and is littered with discarded beer cans, food wrappers, and even occasional pieces of clothing. Yet nobody who might have been there that afternoon is known to have contacted the police. Again, police suspect witnesses may fear getting into trouble for being on private property. Ellering has said he is much more interested in solving the murder than embarrassing anyone who comes forward trying to help. People remember that Labor Day as being pleasant and sunny. The beach at Briggs Lake on the other side of town was crowded. All the evidence seems to indicate that something horrible happened at the quarry that afternoon, just after the time that Fred and Mary Reker began to wonder when their daughters would be home. Just what happened is unclear, said one Stearns County investigator who has talked to a number of the girls' friends and relatives. I think the little one died first. That's what I was saying a minute ago. She was a screamer. She wouldn't have put up with anything. She didn't like strangers, and they would have had to kill her right away, says their mother. I'm not sure. Let's see. I'm not surprised they died together. Susanne never would have run away. See, that's so weird, because that's exactly the same stuff you hear about Libby, right? Like she wouldn't have ran away. Screaming for help and left Mary alone. She would have stayed right there and attacked somebody. When Mary Raker's body was brought to the surface, her cheap watch was stopped at 3:25. Well, that's interesting, because that gives you a really accurate time frame. I mean, it might have taken a minute or two, but a real cheap watch, water is going to seep in there and stop it pretty quick. So, sometime right around maybe 3 to 3:25. 3:25 is the cutoff. At 7:15 p.m. that day, Fred and Rita Reker got into their car and drove to St. Cloud Police Station to report their daughters were missing. It was too late. Yeah, so that was the really long description there. Now here's something that's really kind of strange. All right? Listen to this one. The most remarkable, baffling, and terrifying thing about the murder of Mary and Susanne Raker is that Mary apparently knew it was going to happen. The last entry into her diary is a plea that her killer be found and justice be done. Ordinary 15-year-old girls do not write such notes in their diaries, then go out shopping on Labor Day morning and get stabbed to death. So she wrote, let's see. Yet Mary Raker appears to have been very ordinary, Midwestern, small-town, mid-class girl caught up in the usual pains and pleasures of passing from childhood to womanhood. In that last passage in Mary's diary, the child in her talked about childhood toys and the woman in her urged her family to solve the mystery of her impending death. Something in Mary Reker's brief life had gotten beyond the control of the child and was about to kill the woman. And this is what she wrote. To my family, she wrote, should I die, I ask that my stuffed animals go to my sister. If I am murdered, find my killer and see that justice is done. And then I have a few reasons to fear for my life, and what I ask is important. That's crazy, right? So you sort of wonder if this guy, if that is, with the guy that she was at the bar, if there was something there, something related to that. And then I have a few reasons of fear for my life, and what I ask is important. If Mary left a clue as to the identity of the person she feared would kill her, her family and the dozens of law enforcement officials familiar with the case have yet to find it. Nor have interviews with her friends, relatives, and family. It sounds like it was something really secret, because she wouldn't even write the person's name in the diary. At least, obviously if it was written there, they probably would have been able to make arrests earlier, you'd think. Mary had gone out with the boys once or twice and had smoked cigarettes a few times without telling her parents. At a few family parties, she had a beer or two and had gotten slightly drunk and very talkative. She once told a cousin where he could buy marijuana, and she often enjoyed asserting her independence by shocking her fairly straight-laced family with bad language. But mostly, it was talk. One of the closest friends she said she never saw Mary smoke marijuana, and remembers Mary saying she thought it a fairly... and then, hold on. Okay, the next part's pretty big here. Another long one here. Fairly dangerous thing to try. Another friend remembers suggesting that hitchhiking someplace, and that Mary offered a lame excuse not to. One of the biggest involvements of her life was spending an entire dance with one boy. Another was going for a fast ride in her cousin's new Corvette and getting a speeding ticket. Her sister Betsy says that once, when Mary went to a bar with another boy, she had a bad time and never went out with him again. Mary Reker was pretty much of a homebody. She spent most of her last summer working, babysitting, knitting sweaters, watching television, or staying with her grandparents and at their farm near Luxembourg, Minnesota, south of St. Cloud. The Saturday and Sunday nights before she died, she watched TV and went to bed early. Aside from the note on the last page of the diary, there were few other indications that she felt threatened. 2 days before she died, she and a friend were in the nearby men's clothing store trying on pants, when suddenly Mary announced that the place gave her the creeps and demanded that they leave immediately. So they were in the men's clothing store trying on pants. Why would they be doing that? 3 weeks before she died, while staying with an aunt, she twice asked the aunt to drive her to the bank so she could get her money out. The aunt remembers her saying, "You can't imagine how much trouble I will be in if I don't get that money." Yeah, that's interesting. But on several occasions after that, and before she died, Mary was downtown and easily could have withdrawn her money, about $67. Some of the aspects surrounding Mary and her sister's death make it appear that they were killed by someone they knew fairly well, and someone who was familiar with St. Cloud. Consequently, police have interviewed dozens of acquaintances, relatives, friends of the family, and friends of the girls, in addition to a number of known sex deviants, and other persons in the area with a record of assaulting young girls. All those interviewed are said to have either passed lie detector tests or produced satisfactory alibis. But everything that is known of the two girls suggests that while Mary might have taken a chance ride with a stranger, Susanne, her prim and somewhat prissy younger sister, would not have gone along unless she knew the person. Secondly, there is no indication that either girl previously had visited the stone quarry where their bodies were found. See, that sort of gives more indications that the people that were at the bar, it sounds like she knew that person. that Mary may have known that 25 or 27-year-old. Secondly, there is no indication that the girls previously had visited the stone quarry where their bodies were found because the quarry is not visible from any nearby roads. Police suspect whoever took them there knew in advance where it was, making it likely the murderer is from the area. See, again, isn't that weird? That's so Delphi. This thing sounds so similar to Delphi. It's crazy. You know, all the different, just the way it's played out so far. It's like, oh, well, the person's from the area. They knew where this location was. You know, and what I don't like is when everybody compares every single case to Delphi. I'm just saying this one particularly matches it. You know, you even have the same combined number of years in age, 15 and 12, 27, 14, 13, 27. You know, one of them wouldn't have left each other. They would... it just sounds really similar. Okay. Secondly, there's no indication that either girl previously had been there. Okay. Thirdly, neither girl appears to have resisted multiple stab wounds. But what's weird about that to me, who cares if you had known the person? As soon as you see the other person be stabbed, wouldn't you then defend yourself? Maybe the first person stabbed wasn't ready. Okay? And then if not, then maybe there are two people and both were stabbed at the same time. I don't know. Let's see. Thirdly, neither girl appears to have resisted multiple stab wounds, suggesting that at least Susanne never realized she was in danger until it was too late. Well, both of them. Why mention Susanne specifically? Well, actually, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Susanne was quickly killed, and then obviously her sister, Mary, would have been awake because she was then raped, then killed. So she was aware. I mean, what a nightmare. See, again, that's similar to Delphi. You know, probably one of them was still alive first and was able to see the other one get killed, and then, you know, whatever else happened after that, we don't know. Hey, Blue! Yeah. Yeah, it could be two people. I don't know. Let's see. A neighbor who saw the girls at a nearby shopping center shortly before they disappeared said he overheard Susanne tell Mary that she didn't like that man. See, isn't that weird? Because Mary likes the guy, right? She was at the bar, had the animated conversation with him. They knew each other. Susanne says, I don't like that guy, right? It wasn't Mary who said that. It was Susanne, who probably had never seen her before. And maybe even Mary wasn't expecting to see this guy out that day. He just showed up, and, you know, so it sounds like maybe that was somebody she knew. Thank you, Lee D. Hey, Jeff. The neighbor took that as a reference to an unidentified man. Okay, Susanne, let me read this part again. The neighbor who saw the girls at a nearby shopping center shortly before they disappeared said he overheard Susanne tell Mary that she didn't like that man. The neighbor took that as a reference to an unidentified man he later saw waiting nervously in a car outside the store. Maybe, but would he have had a second person with him? Because they were seen later. Mary and whoever killed them yet Susanne must have gone with Mary and whoever killed them without a struggle. Right. Because Mary was able to say, well, I know him, you know. That's why she would have gotten the car, even though Susanne didn't know her. A month later, the bodies of both girls were found at the nearby quarry. Susanne was found lying under a small tree with her jacket and glasses a few feet away. Right? So So this is Susanne here. I guess she had glasses too. The sleeve of her sweater was pulled over her hand, you know, like you do when you're cold, as if she'd been dragged. Well, they're saying as if she'd been dragged to the spot or held by that wrist while she was stabbed. Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, that sounds like more plausible. Like you might have tried to grab her wrist and then she was able to pull her hand through the fabric and then you're still gripping onto the sweater itself, and then her hand retracts up into it, and then she gets stabbed. Mary was found at the bottom of the water-filled quarry at the foot of a 50-foot-high granite cliff. Her bra had been cut into 4 pieces. Wow. And a 4 to 6 inch wide strip was cut out of the front of her sweater with a sharp instrument. Why would you need to cut out a strip? That piece of cloth has not been found. It's almost like they wanted to keep it as a souvenir. That's freaking nuts. The sweater, that's what that sounds like, doesn't it? Doesn't that sound like that piece was cut out just to keep? Why would you be cutting out a little tiny... Jeez. The sweater had been pulled over her head. And this article, by the way, is from 1977. All right, so this is 43 years ago. Pulled over her head, but was still on her wrists. Oh, wow. Let's get that again. The sweater had been pulled over her head, but was still on her wrist. I wonder if it could be, you know, that it was up a little bit, but when she fell into the water, if it could have been pulled up over her head. I don't know. Her underpants and 3 of the bra pieces were found strewn down the side of the cliff. The army jacket she was wearing was found on the bottom of the quarry. Wow, so the rest of them were kind of light, so you couldn't fling them very far, so they drifted down and stayed in that area. Now the army jacket, you could huck out there with the weight, and it would go a little bit further, and that's why it made it to the bottom. She also was wearing 1 shoe, her watch, and a ring she had found earlier. The other shoe was found floating elsewhere in the quarry, so she definitely had her shoes on when she hit the water probably. Or I guess the shoe could have been chucked out into the water too. Despite the fact that a salvage diver could find neither the missing piece of Mary's sweater nor the murder weapon in the grayish-green water, the quarry was never drained, not even down to the first shelf of granite on which Mary's body was found. You know, that's kind of weird now that you think about it. We could probably... I bet you she was found on this shelf right here. You know? And let's see what it looks like over time if you go back. Yeah, see, this is 1991. And there must be times of the year where it fills up dramatically. That's empty there. Well, I mean, over all these years, did they ever check again? Yeah, I don't know how that actually works, but... This was the article. Hold on. She also was wearing... Divers report finding her body in 40 feet of water, but measurements taken by the Star last week seem to indicate that the shelf is only 22 to 25 feet underwater. In the past few weeks, police officials have made numerous trips back to the scene and soon are expected to begin a second, more careful search of the area where Suzanne's body was found. Neither girl was mutilated. Both were stabbed repeatedly in the stomach and lower abdomen. The wounds were about 3/4 of an inch wide. Sharply cut on both sides, so more like a dagger, and only 2.5 to 3 inches deep, suggesting a small, sharp, double-edged knife or other cutting instrument was used. Another bizarre aspect is that the rumors began circulating throughout St. Cloud that the bodies had been found at a stone quarry 4 to 5 days before the bodies actually were found. A woman told Fred Reker, the girl's father, that she had learned about the discovery 36 hours before he had, and was even told which quarry. So isn't that weird? I hope this isn't a psychic moment. But remember how he said that somebody said that they'd found the body? And he said, no, that's not true. 2 days before the bodies were found, the Reker family began receiving strange phone calls. Whoever called would simply wait 5 or 6 seconds, then hang up. No such phone calls were received. The day the bodies were actually found, the calls resumed for 2 days after the bodies were found. Each time the caller would hang up just seconds before a police-installed tracer would pick up the number from which the call was made. Ah, man. The clues left behind are both insufficient and overwhelming. The Star's files on the case contain perhaps 800 facts. The police files undoubtedly contain more. However, the 3, 4, or 5 key facts needed to solve the case have yet to be found. The investigation is continuing, and the list of possible suspects, now around 25, seems to be growing each day. Crazy, huh? And now and this is 1977 again in December. They're doing a second probe. Both have died multiple stab wounds, they're saying, in 25 feet of water now. 2 different witnesses placed both the man and Mary Reker in the same department of the store at about the same time. In addition, the man reportedly had a sexual offense record. Oh, wow. I wonder who this is. Officials have made widespread use of the Bureau's polygraph lie detectors. 2 men have refused to take the polygraph test, although Ellering did not identify the 2. One of the men who committed a remarkably similar crime in the late 60s, and another who was a friend of Mary Reker's. In today's statement, Ellering said a number of suspects have been charged, including suspects in the original investigation. Let's see. Typical of the frustrations of the reopened case in the investigation of a man who was identified as being in the Zayre department store the same afternoon as the girls. His car fit the description given by one of the Reker's neighbors, who told the Star he saw a suspicious looking man waiting outside the front door. Remember, that was the guy that was sitting in there. Neither of the bodies showed signs that the girls had struggled with the killer. So I think they think that Mary at least... Hey, thanks. Kubachek. That Mary at least knew the person. Okay, now we're moving all the way to 1988. So here's this other guy. Police remember September 25th, 1976. They remember searching in the glow of spotlights for the blood and clothing of a 14-year-old girl who had been raped, stabbed, and left for dead near a rural Luxembourg grave pit. They remember the girl who survived the attack. They remembered her family, and they remembered Herb Notch. And that was the story that I read to you guys earlier from 1976 of the 14-year-old girl that survived an attack in the same area. Hey, Blue. They're going nuts. They're going nuts in there. Here, I'm going to take a time out and get a Coke or something. All right? But are you guys finding this interesting? Because I sure as hell am. I don't read all these beforehand. I just read a paragraph and then I read it during the show. Okay, so hold on a minute. That's your joyful break music.
Very interesting. I got sidetracked but came right back to hear more.
Yo. I think my wife's going to put something in the new wave oven, so it might make some noise here in a second. Who the hell knows? I mean, this guy, he's crazy, this guy right here. So he was 17 back in 1976. Herb Notch was 17 when he and another 17-year-old robbed a St. Cloud dairy bar and kidnapped the girl. We told that. I actually was reading you the original article back then. Police investigators see many brutal crimes in a career, but they set aside a special distance for Notch. They predicted he would kill someone within a year of his release from prison and lamented that they could not stop him. Late Thursday night, 7 months after Notch's release from prison, St. Cloud police and Stearns County deputies who investigated the crime 11 years ago met Notch again. He was arrested at the Luxembourg area home of his parents on charges of sexual assault, kidnapping, and burglary. A woman whom Notch had a relationship with after his release from prison told police that he broke into her home and forced her at knifepoint to have sex with him. Several weeks before the incident, hold on, let me turn this down a little bit. It's pretty high there. Several weeks before the incident, the woman said she tried to end her relationship with Notch, according to a criminal complaint. At a court appearance Friday, Notch shook his head in apparent disgust as the county prosecutor recounted his crimes of 11 years ago. Assistant County Attorney Dennis Plon said Notch may have been planning to acquire a gun to kill the alleged victim and her new boyfriend when he was arrested. He asked for a high bail of $150,000. A short time later, Stearns County Sheriff Charlie Graff also was shaking his head. "I don't have anything to say," Graff said. "With some of these guys, you just know." 2 of Notch's brothers have been convicted of felony crimes, and younger brother Steve was convicted last year of murdering a Waite Park man. Steve Notch, a diagnosed paranoid schizophrenia, began a 24-year sentence at the state penitentiary hospital. Oh, come on, that's cruel. Listen, he's a paranoid schizophrenic. He should be out in like a week, you know? Those people, send him to Canada. He'll be out in 3 days. Police worried about her. I mean, you can cut heads off in Canada and you're out in a week, you know? Actually, 5 years. I'm sorry. It was a little... Police worried about Herb Notch from the very day he was released from St. Cloud Reformatory, and were watchful. "Keeping an eye on him has a bad connotation," one detective said. "I would say it's just that we were more aware." Keeping an eye on him has... Notch was sentenced to 40 years in prison for the 1976 assault, but in 1982 sought release under terms of new state sentencing guidelines. An attorney for Notch argued that his client was 17 when the offense occurred and had no criminal record. Stearns County Attorney Roger Van Heel cited a psychiatrist's report that said Notch had a fearlessly savage quality about him. Okay, but let's let him out anyways, because Notch's sentence was reduced under the guidelines, but even under the old parole system, it is likely he would have been released sometime between 1983 and 1987. So that would mean he was only going to serve 10 years of a 40-year sentence. Notch could have been released as early as 1984, but he refused to accept placement in a halfway house. Wow. Why not? "I don't feel I should have to go. I've done my time," Notch wrote in a 1984 letter to 7th District Judge Paul Hoffman, requesting a further reduction in sentence. "I'm very sincere about getting out of prison so I can start a new life for myself." Hoffman was no less severe than police in his assessment of Notch. His only remorse was in being caught, the judge wrote in a memorandum. "The court is not satisfied that he is in any manner has changed his attitude." Police said they believe Notch chose to serve his entire sentence to avoid the requirements of a probation officer. Notch gave a far different account of his intent in the 1984 letter of Hoffman. "I've been locked up for 8 years now, and I feel I've served enough time. I know I could make it in society if only given a chance. I feel I deserve it." What an idiot. How do people write stuff like that? Sounds like Adam Schiff. Just making shit up as you go, I guess. Here's the thing, as it says right here, Mary and Susan Raker disappeared On September 2nd, 1974, this is a 1989 article. A month later, 2 teenage boys were reported to the sheriff. So in here, they're wondering if he's related. You know, they're wondering if Herb Notch killed Mary and Susan, or Suzanne, actually. She goes by Susan and Suzanne. But they're wondering if he's the one that killed both of them. Alright, so then we're moving to, okay, this is the same article, same kind of deal here. This one here also said the same thing. And then 1990, new suspect emerges in Reker slang. A new suspect has emerged in the unsolved 16-year-old murder of 2 St. Cloud girls. Susanne Raker, 12, and Mary Raker, 15, disappeared on Labor Day in 1974. After leaving home at 11 a.m. to buy school supplies, their bodies were found a month later in a secluded granite quarry west of Waite Park. Both girls had been stabbed numerous times in the stomach. Investigators worked on the, I don't know. I wonder if, I wonder why he stabbed them in the stomach. I wonder if it's possible, like something happened. I mean, I'm just saying between Mary and this older guy, and, the older guy knew whatever that was illegal, and I don't know. It just seems like an odd situation there. And why would she write that in her journal that she's involved with something that's dangerous, An FBI profile completed 3 years ago suggested the killer probably was someone close to Mary's age. The type of weapon believed to be a small, sharp, double-edged knife also led investigators to believe the killer was young. Jim Kostreba, assistant Stearns County Sheriff, confirmed that the investigators have new suspect. The man is now 30, so this is 1990, so that would be 16, so that would make him about 74, 16, make him 14 at the time, right? The man now, no, it says in his 30s, not 30. Still lives and works in Minnesota, although not in St. Cloud. He said detectives were trying to determine whether the man knew the girls, and he cautioned that more investigation was needed. We're not looking at it as a big break. We're hopeful. We've worked with the county attorney on this, and I can tell you that. The girl's mother, Rita Reker, declined to talk about the new developments. And these are the parents right here. This is from 1999. Feel bad for them. It's like, jeez. And my camera looks really bright. I'm going to have to fix that. There we go. Okay, and then 1999 again, 25 years later, Reker continued to wonder who killed their children. I feel that somebody knows something that they haven't been telling. The search for the girl's killer has yielded little new information for years. This year is probably just a little more distant, Rita said. My hopes are the same, though. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're still alive, but they already looked like they're getting up there in age in that 1999. Is this man a total evil? Oh, she wrote a poem, I thought, of one of these. I think it's in this one. Yeah, so this is, the mother wrote this poem. 2 young girls set out one day to buy supplies for school. innocent and full of life. Dear children, Mary and Sue, they planned on 2 familiar stores. They walked there many times, but on that day, along their way, somebody took their lives. For 26 days, their families searched on land and sky and pond. Then one fateful afternoon, 2 cold bodies they were found. But that was many years ago. Their story still goes on. That someone still is out there. We won't rest till he is found. Is this a man of total evil? Is his life completely hell? Thanks, Cindy Lynn.
Thank you, Gray and Fantastic Freak family.
Boom! Thank you. Or is there a speck of decency within his empty shell? If he knew 1 ounce of heaven's grace, then surely he would tell. With just 1 ounce of heaven's grace, surely he would tell. So that's the mother's. She wrote a poem in one of these articles. Then there's a 2016 public help still sought, and I mean, it's just, doesn't it just suck that these go on for that many years? You know, the girl's mother agrees, so I guess she's still alive out there. In 2016, anyways. There are people out there who have never come forward that know what happened, know who did it, and are not. No, people who have never come forward before, Rita Reker said. Susanne was found in the grass, stabbed 13 times. Mary was found unclothed, 40 feet below the water surface. She had been stabbed 6 times. Authorities believe the suspect, a man who's likely from St. Cloud area, who is still alive. Betchfield said authorities haven't ruled out the possibility of an accomplice. He said it's possible that witnesses may have seen something but believed it wasn't important. Let's see. One entry reads, should I die, I ask that my stuffed animals be given. Okay, let me read this part up here. He said it's possible that witnesses may have seen something but believed it wasn't important. He's now urging those people to come forward. We'd like to know what happened from the time they left the store until they were murdered. If saw certain people together, Told said, and I can't say who those certain people would be, but we have witnesses who saw the girls at the store. We have witnesses who saw them in different places. Mary's diary may also continue a clue. One entry reads, should I die, I ask that my stuffed animals be given to my sister, and if I'm murdered, see that justice wins over. I have a few reasons to fear for my life. What I ask is important. Bechtold said the diary entry is part of the investigation. I think that definitely is a clue. Something in her, that she was doing, and I think whatever that was is the reason she's not alive. It just seems like that has to be, because, you know, people aren't murdered. Like, it's really rare to be murdered, even though murders are common. You know what I mean? Like, common because we hear about every one of them. And then she writes about it and says she has reason to be fearing for her life, and then she ends up dying and murdered. It's pretty significant to look at that, he said. You certainly can't rule that out, because what 15-year-old girl writes that? Exactly. Authorities still have the girl's clothing, and while DNA testing in 2006 revealed no clues, the items could be tested again as technology advances. Well, this story here was 2016, and that was one of the years of the sort of, there was an advancement made that year. That's when they started doing, you know, Parabon snapshot and all that stuff. But right now, it's insane. I mean, they should be able to take some of those items. And I don't know if they did any sort of swabbing of Mary after they took her out of the water, but I hope so. All right, now there's actually an article from this year on the 18th. Just, 3 days ago. And so let's, I'll play this video right here.
Tonight, a new investigation into one of Minnesota's most notorious...
And this one's crazy because there's this other guy that they're interested in, but it doesn't sound like police are interested in, but the article brings him up.
Unsolved murders. The Raker sisters were just 15 and 12 years old when they were killed near St. Cloud in the 1970s. Decades later, there is a new lead, but the woman who tipped off authorities tells AJ Legault she's being ignored. And we should note this story was in the works before COVID, so you may notice they are not wearing masks.
It's like you do it or you die. That was the choice.
Georgianne Dreher says it happened 46 years ago.
He had a
This
scar
link's
in
in the
his left
description.
eyebrow.
KARE
The
11.
face of her attacker seared in her memory.
So you just remember what this guy looks like. Just look at that picture right there, right?
All he said was, my name is Lloyd. And I
Now,
said, "What?"
she's haunted by the belief that the very same Lloyd was involved in a mysterious Minnesota double murder. Missing posters went up just after Labor Day, 1974. The young Raker sisters missing, last seen walking to what was, back then, the Zayre's shopping center in St. Cloud. Their bodies found almost a month later at a nearby quarry. They'd been stabbed repeatedly. Georgianne says she was also attacked at knifepoint just days before the Raker sisters disappeared.
He sliced up my pants. That knife was sharp. It was like a razor. He had...
As she tells her story, listen for the similarities.
And he was coming across the parking lot on a bike.
Georgianne says a guy in his late teens rode up to her near the same spot the Raker sisters were last seen.
And Zayre Shopping Center was right over there.
It was a hot...
So let's see something really quick. So this is where the Zayre Shopper Center. I just want to see if what she was pointing at, because now it should look the same. Well, I wonder if it's in there. Kind of looks like that. Like let me just go a little bit further down here. Really, you can't see what I'm doing, but it sort of feels like it's in that mall area there, and that's the same one. But let me. Oh, actually, let me just... what do you think that's? Trust Tone Financial? Now let me look at the other crap. I'm not watching the chat, so don't type stuff in like, oh, to this,
Near
into
the
this one.
same spot the Raker sisters were last seen.
And Zayre Shopping Center was right over there.
It was a hot summer day.
That looks like it says Trust Tone Financial. What's that other store right over there?
Teens.
Yeah, jeez. Wait, what's the name of this town again? second. St. Cloud, okay. Truststone, Financial, St. Cloud. Ah, there it was. It was right there. Yeah, that was right where I had it. God. Yeah, it was even on that same street. So right here is probably getting close to where that lady was standing. I don't know if it's actually going to be... Yeah, there it is. Right. I think it's right there. Truststone, Financial. And then I think she was like looking across the street. But anyways, yeah, we're basically in the right. Well, she's standing kind of over in front of that financial place. Yeah, it's almost like she's standing right over here. Okay, got the brick. Would it be on the other side, maybe? Okay, there we go. That's where she's standing. Yep, that's it. And then she points.
Rode up to her, near the same spot the Raker sisters were last seen.
And Zayre Shopping Center was right over there.
It was.
And then she's standing. There she is. That's it right there. Okay, so that is the shopping center right there. That was close. I mean, it was right in the same, you know. So anyways, all that for just to get to the same place. But hey, at least we know now, right? You know, it could have even been that because she was pointing right at that area. So definitely could be right back in here too, that kind of thing. All right, but this story is pretty interesting, so let me get back to that. So this is a different girl, but we brought her up a long time ago in the.
It was a hot summer day.
Never mind. Just
Georgianne,
listen.
new in town, was interested in making friends.
And I asked him, do you know any good swimming spots? He said, yes, the quarry. It's a beautiful place.
The quarry. The same place the sisters' bodies would be found. She says they biked off together, stopping along the way, here, down along the bank of the Sauk River. At first, sharing stories.
And I said, what do you do? And he said, I'm a...
See, don't you think it's weird that this guy had her go to the same quarry? Or was going to take her there?
Keep up your great work.
Hey, thanks. Michael Callahan. I mean, listen to that. She said he was going to take her to a quarry.
Yes, the quarry. It's a beautiful place.
The quarry. The same place the sisters' bodies would be found. She says they biked off together, stopping along the way, here, down along the bank of the Sauk River. At first, sharing stories.
And I said, what do you do? And he said, I'm a carnival worker. And he never said the last name. I knew him as Lloyd, the carnival worker.
So what, Ellen?
But as they talked,
what difference
his
does that
mood
make?
Suddenly changed.
He reached back and he was fiddling around with his left hand and he pulled out a knife. And that's when I just started doing everything he said.
As he assaulted her, he talked about his fantasies. Her nightmare did not end until a car pulled up just above them. Enough of a distraction, she was able to escape. She even wrote about it at the time in her scrapbook.
You wrote his name right in your...
Yes, Lloyd.
Next to the words, then tried to kill me. Remember, it was just days before the Raker sisters disappeared.
So I want to make sure I have this straight. You met the man who assaulted you across the street from the Zayres. And
That's correct.
Where you were sexually assaulted was less than 3/4 of a mile from where the sisters' bodies were found.
That's correct.
She says she reported her attack to authorities. Lloyd was never located, and
Lloyd.
a Stearns County Sheriff's investigator told her they didn't think there was a connection to the Raker girls. Years later, still haunted, she set up an alert on her computer for Lloyd, the carnival worker. Eventually, she got a hit.
It came up from another state.
A link to this 2014 headline. Lloyd Welsh, a one-time carnival worker named a person of interest in another cold case involving young girls. The Lyon sisters, Catherine and Sheila.
Yeah, and so here we go. This is that story. Now, this is way back then. The sisters were still missing. They went to, look at, a Plaza shopping center. This is in Washington, though, right? So here's this guy who's a carnival worker. And, he's in another town, perhaps. And, these two girls were at a shopping center. And they disappeared. They were missing for a long time. And then they were actually found at some point. This is them right here. Okay, and this is 1975 murder. Okay, so let's just get back to the...
Disappeared from the Wheaton Plaza shopping center outside Washington, D.C. in the spring of 1975. Less than a year
Sounds like an
after
MO.
the Raker sisters. Authorities released this mugshot to show what Welsh had looked like around that time.
It was mind-blowing.
When you saw this
Yeah, look at that guy in the
did you
sketch,
have
the long
any
hair.
doubt that this was the man who sexually assaulted
Absolutely
you?
not. That was the man that assaulted me.
Lloyd Welsh was already a convicted sex offender and a suspect in other crimes across the country.
Report
Georgianne
from-
reached out to the Maryland detectives investigating the case.
Detective Janney and Detective Leggett are in St. Cloud, Minnesota to interview Georgianne Dreher.
This is a recording the East Coast detectives made when they came all the way to Minnesota to interview Georgianne about things her attacker had told her,
Look at that.
including the name of
Put a little
woman
headband on,
traveling
boom.
with him.
He talks a lot about Helen. He really loved Helen.
But he called her Helen by name.
Yes.
Turns out Lloyd Welsh had been traveling the country with his girlfriend, Helen. That, and a host of other
See?
tiny details, convinced East Coast authorities
Like, she even knew that he had a girlfriend named Helen or something that he talked about.
Georgianne had been attacked by Lloyd Welsh. So convinced,
Let me rewind
they
it.
issued had been traveling the country with his girlfriend, Helen. That, and a host of other tiny details, convinced East Coast authorities Georgianne had been attacked by Lloyd Welsh. So convinced, they issued this subpoena to have her testify as a pattern witness when he went to trial for
See?
murdering the Lyon sisters.
The MO.
But her testimony wasn't necessary. In court, Lloyd Welsh pleaded guilty to participating in the Lyon sisters' murder. Even though Georgianne Dreher was going to be a witness in that case, she says authorities in Stearns County still refused to consider Lloyd Welsh a serious suspect in the Raker sisters' murders.
That the guy is a serial killer.
In this email, refused to consider Lloyd Welsh a serious suspect in the Raker sisters' murders.
That the guy is a serial killer.
Why is it doing that?
You got two girls and one on the East Coast, two girls out here, and he's got a fantasy about sisters.
In this email, dated August 2020, a Stearns County investigator writes, "The investigation of the Raker homicides points in a different direction than Mr. Welsh."
I think they...
Georgianne
Yeah.
isn't giving up. She's
I mean, what's interesting is they're saying that, so that probably means they might have DNA, or they really feel like they're onto a different person. But, I mean, come on, that's just crazy.
written to Lloyd Welsh, even visited him once in prison, hoping for a confession that still hasn't come.
What I want to know is, they never found the bodies of those two girls, the Lyon sisters. Why didn't they make that part of the plea? Like, he gets to go plead. I would have said no. Well, no, I guess you can plead guilty regardless, but I would have, I don't know, I would have bargained to get him to say, but it turns out there's some more information.
You want answers?
Hold on a second.
Yes, I want answers.
For KARE 11 Investigates, I'm AJ Legault.
I mean, look at her right there. She was really pretty. I mean, she's, she's older now, but you could just see in that picture, like, she probably, had a whole different outlook on life, and then you get this crap happens to you, and then you just, rest of your life, you're probably, have a little harder time dealing with things. Let's see. So this is the lion case. They left their home at 11. So I mean, anyways, they go disappearing. It's almost exactly the same story. It's really wild. And I think in 2015, let me see, Fred Howard Coffey was convicted in 87 for the 1979 beating, strangulation, molestation of 10-year-old, as he's serving a life sentence. Lloyd Welsh, as mentioned above, Lloyd Welsh provided his own version of events a week after the disappearance. Over the years, many detectives worked on the Lyons girls' cold case. However, many had retired by 2013. From the details of the file, Hammock thought that, at minimum, Welsh had witnessed the crime because he had described the limp of Ray, Molesky, and Homrock. Still had not ruled out. Let's see, what is it? Okay, this part here was crazy. During the reopening of the case, police discovered that a mugshot taken of Welsh in 1977 bore a strong resemblance to a police sketch of a possible suspect who had been seen staring inappropriately at the Lyons sisters in the shopping mall. Detectives began interviewing Welsh in prison. He made statements that further implicated him, although he continued to protest his innocence. One of the relatives told them he had helped Welsh burn 2 heavy, bloodied duffel bags in Bedford County, Virginia. In July 2015, Welsh was indicted and charged with the girls' murders, where he pleaded guilty to murder. 2 years later, his uncle's in prison of interest as well. So, I mean, somebody actually helped him burn the bodies. Let me see if the duffel bag. It shows up again right here. All right. Welsh's cousin, Henry Parker, told detectives in December 2014 that in 1975 he met Welsh at a property on Taylor's Mountain Road in Thaxton, Virginia. Parker said he helped remove 2 Army-style duffel bags from the Welsh's vehicle. Each bag weighed about 60 to 70 pounds and smelled like death. According to a search warrant affidavit, which was filed and sealed in January 2015, moreover, Parker said the bags had been covered in red stains. Without knowing their contents, Parker threw the bags into a fire. So there you go. That might actually be the answer, that they were burned and you'll probably never find them. A little bit like in the Patrick Frazee case. So anyways, it's still open case, but they are talking about it right now, and I'm sort of wondering if at some point soon they're going to come forward with some, a DNA profile. Hopefully they got some. Right? So there you have it, everybody. I hope you guys thought that was an interesting case. I do. It seems like they're probably on the right path to somebody, but maybe they just haven't been able to prove it yet. All right? So thank you guys very much. I might come back on later in a couple hours or something like that. Maybe we can do a call-in show, something like that. But I was actually thinking of maybe trying to do more where I do a show for an hour or so on a case and then move on to another one. That way people can just stay focused on one. This one turned out to be particularly long, had a lot of articles and some crazy information. So, all right. Well, thank you guys all for showing up today, and also thank you to Rebecca Green, Lee D, Rochelle Black, Jay Case twice, Holly Evans, Zozo, Linda Howell, Tracy, Lee D, Kubacek, LM, Cindy Leon, and Michael Callahan. So thank you guys very much, and we'll probably see you guys a little bit later. And as I always say, everybody, well, listen, make sure that you, if I don't talk to you later, put the masks on, maintain your social distancing, wash your hands, all right? But as I always say, everybody, until next time, be safe out there. And a 2 and a 3. Yeah, I've been doing this true crime thing for quite a while now. And during this whole time, I have not seen one person that is a...
Thanks, Susie B. Thanks, Susie B. Thanks, Susie B. Susie B. Susie B.
Gonna get ya on a stretcher if you try and play me like an old projector. Crime sector is my nectar. The forensic radio's gonna give another lecture. Crime director, freak connector.
And I'm always gonna be a puppet protector. Full deflector, interceptor. And I mean a respecter with a vector.
On his pector, with all respect, y'all. Just remember I've a temple fucking check ya. I have no agenda. I'm no pretender. And I'll serve it to you straight without the blender. And in the end, I'm gonna send ya on a mission to reveal the true offender.
All right.
Get right back to work. All right, everybody?
All right, that was really cool. That was an interesting show. Great, that was really cool.
Hey, well, thank you.
Oh, hey, no problem. I was really just talking to John Boy.
Well, screw you.
What do you mean, screw you? You're so mean.
Yeah, Gray, that was really mean. How could you possibly say that?
Yeah, you're so mean, Gray.
Oh, boy.
Gosh, sorry, Mary Lou. I'll start the next show off in jail, just for you, okay? Bada bing! All right, everybody, be safe out there.